I was a night owl, always hitting the Aldi near my apartment after late shifts. The store's tight aisles, harsh fluorescents, and faint smell of cardboard were my late-night haven. It stayed open until 10 p.m., and I'd slip in just before closing, dodging the cashier's annoyed glances. One bitter January night, everything changed. It was 9:45 p.m., and I was tossing bread and milk into my basket, the store's intercom crackling. Closing in 15 minutes. I was the only customer, my sneakers squeaking on the polished floor. In the canned goods aisle, a sharp squeak pierced the silence. A cart, moving somewhere behind me. I glanced over my shoulder. Nothing but empty shelves and flickering lights. I shook it off, blaming the wind or an employee, but the squeaking followed, erratic, like someone was pacing my steps. My heart thudded as I moved to the frozen aisle, the cold air biting my fingers. The sound grew closer, deliberate, stopping when I stopped, starting when I moved. I hurried toward the checkout, basket digging into my arm, but froze at the snack aisle. A man stood there, motionless, staring at a bag of pretzels. His coat was tattered, his skin gray like old paper, his eyes sunken and unblinking. His cart was empty, its wheels still, yet I swore I'd heard it moving. I forced a nod, my throat dry, and shuffled past. His head didn't turn, but I felt his gaze crawl over me. At the checkout, the cashier, a young woman with tired eyes, scanned my items, her hands unsteady. "You see that guy?" I whispered, glancing back. She froze, her scanner hovering. "There's no one else here," she said, voice barely audible. I turned. The man was gone, but his cart sat in the aisle, rocking gently, as if just abandoned. I fumbled for my card, the air thickening. The cashier's eyes darted to the aisles, her breath shallow. "You didn't see him?" I pressed. She shook her head, but her fingers gripped the counter. As the automatic doors hissed open, a voice rasped behind me, low and gravelly. "You forgot something." I spun, heart slamming against my ribs, but the store was empty, the cashier already flipping off the lights. The squeaking started again, faint, from the back of the store. I bolted to my car, the cold biting my face, and locked the doors. The parking lot was deserted, but I swore I saw a shadow move in the store's windows. The next week, I asked the cashier about it. Her face drained of color. "People see him sometimes," she whispered. "A shopper who never leaves. Always watching, waiting for someone to follow him." She wouldn't say more, but her eyes said enough. I switched to a different store, avoiding all these flickering lights. But late at night, when the world is quiet, I hear that cart squeak, sharp and close, and I check my locks. Terrified he's still out there, waiting for me to turn around, to follow him into whatever darkness he calls home. Supermarkets at night are deceptively mundane, their bright lights hiding shadows that writhe in the corners. But it's not just the shoppers who make your skin crawl. Sometimes, the store itself seems to watch, waiting for you to slip. I took an overnight stocking job at a 24-hour supermarket to cover rent. The place was a sprawling maze of high ceilings and flickering fluorescents, eerie at 3 a.m. when the world outside felt dead. I liked the solitude, restocking shelves while the radio played softly. But one March night, the silence turned hostile. I was shelving pasta in aisle 8 when a crash echoed from the next row, a jar hitting the floor. "Hello," I called, my voice swallowed by the store's vastness. No answer. I rounded the corner and found a can of peas rolling toward me, slow and deliberate, as if nudged. I grabbed it, my hands clammy, and shoved it back on the shelf. Another crash came from produce, louder, insistent. I grabbed my flashlight, the beam shaky, and headed over. The air grew sour, heavy with the stench of rotting fruit. A pile of apples lay scattered across the floor, bruised and oozing, their skins splitting like wounds. No one was there, but a shadow flickered behind the melon display, gone when I blinked. My radio hissed static when I tried my supervisor, the signal choking on itself. Then, a low chuckle rumbled from the meat department, guttural and wrong. I crept toward it, my flashlight cutting through the dimness. Behind the butcher counter stood a figure, too tall, its limbs bent at unnatural angles, clutching a cleaver. Its face was a void, a smudge of darkness that seemed to suck in the light. The fluorescence above it flickered and died, plunging the section into black. I ran, my sneakers pounding, the chuckle chasing me through the aisles. I locked myself in the break room, heart racing, as the sound seeped through the vents, curling around me like smoke. I stayed there until dawn, when my supervisor found me, pale and confused. He checked the cameras. Nothing, but the apples were still there, rotting on the floor, untouched. I quit that night, unable to face the aisles again. The supervisor brushed it off as exhaustion, but I know what I saw. I still smell decay in quiet moments, and that chuckle haunts my dreams, as if it's waiting for me to return, to restock one last shelf in its domain. Some places pulse with their own darkness, their shelves hiding more than products. But it's not just the living who stalk you. Sometimes, it's the store's own hunger that refuses to let go. I avoided the giant supermarket downtown, its endless aisles and chaotic crowds overwhelming. But a Saturday sale in June pulled me in at noon, the parking lot packed under a blazing sun. Inside, the store was a frenzy, carts colliding, kids whining, fluorescent lights glaring like a sterile sun. I thought the bustle would feel safe, but the moment I crossed the threshold, a chill settled over me, like eyes piercing my back. I grabbed a cart, its wheels squeaking, and navigated the produce section, dodging shoppers. Reaching for avocados, I caught a shadow at the aisle's end, tall, jagged, vanishing behind a stack of bananas. I blinked, heart stuttering, but saw only a harried mom with a toddler. Just the crowd, I told myself, but the feeling grew, heavy, like someone stood inches behind me, breathing on my neck. I spun. Nothing, just strangers shoving past, their faces a blur. In the cereal aisle, it happened again. A dark shape flickered in my peripheral vision, darting behind a display of sugary boxes. My skin prickled, the store's chatter fading to a dull hum, as if the air thickened around me. I pushed my cart faster, the squeak grating, and checked my reflection in a freezer door. No one loomed behind, but my pulse raced, certain I wasn't alone. The lights seemed too bright, sharpening every shadow into something alive. By the canned goods, a rustle came from the next aisle, like fabric dragging across shelves. I peered through the gaps, empty, but the sound followed, pacing my steps, deliberate. My hands shook as I tossed beans into my cart, the crowd's noise now a distant roar. In the bakery, a faint tap echoed, like footsteps trailing me. I turned, catching a glimpse of something angular slip behind a bread rack, too quick to define. My breath hitched, the air tasting stale despite the store's sterile cleanliness. At the checkout, the line crawled. The feeling of being watched grew unbearable, a weight pressing my chest. I scanned the store, spotting a shadow shift behind a promotional stand, its edges wrong, not quite human. The cashier, a young guy, noticed my tension. "You okay?" he asked, scanning my items. "Someone's following me," I muttered. His smile faltered, eyes flicking to the aisles. "It's just busy," he said, but his voice wavered, uncertain. I paid, my hands clumsy, and headed for the exit, the crowd parting like a tide. As I passed the automatic doors, a cold breath grazed my ear, whispering, "You're mine." I spun, heart pounding, but saw only shoppers, their eyes vacant, unaware. The whisper lingered, sharp and intimate, as I ran to my car, the sun's heat doing nothing to warm me. I locked the doors, checking the rearview mirror. Nothing, but the feeling clung, like damp cloth on skin. I haven't returned. That supermarket still buzzes every weekend, packed with oblivious crowds. But I feel that stare in busy places now, a shadow flickering at the edge of my vision. At night, that whisper creeps into my dreams, soft but relentless, and I wonder if it's still out there, weaving through the daylight, waiting for me to look back, to see what's been following me all along. Supermarkets, whether dark or dazzling, hide traps in their aisles. The light doesn't always keep the shadows at bay. Sometimes, it just makes them harder to spot. Stay sharp,